Welcome back to episode 12 of Hospo Happy Hour, proudly brought to you by Hospo for Life and Waters Distillery. Today's episode, we'll be discussing gratitude and emotions with Darrin Brandis for the first round, followed by chef and hospitality consultant Paul Foreman for last drinks. Let's get today's show underway. Up for their second round on the show, we have Darrin Brandis, clinical psychologist back from People Sense by Altius Group. How are you, Darrin? Thanks for joining us again today.
I'm well, thank you, Liam. Thanks for having me back.
No, it's our pleasure. So tell me, how can I and our viewers have more gratitude and positive emotions?
Yeah, thanks. Gratitude's a really interesting subject, and it's come out of the research around positive psychology. And a couple of researchers in the US, Dr. Emmons and Dr. McCulloch out of the University of California in Miami, and Martin Seligman out of Pennsylvania have done a lot of research into gratitude. And gratitude is really about the ability to notice, appreciate, and savor elements of one life. So taking the time on a daily basis to create a bit of a ritual of just actually reflecting on what you are grateful for. And what's been shown is if you do this over the course of 21 days, it helps your relationship grows, it improves your overall well-being, and it has a positive impact upon your mental health, which is really important in terms of COVID. And it creates a bit of a feedback loop. So what actually starts to happen is that when you stop and think about what you are grateful for each day and you begin to practice that, you notice some improvement in your mood, increased positive emotions. So it actually starts to help with creating some positive emotions and some of that cognitive change. And we mentioned in my last topic about that neuroplasticity. The brain starts to rewire, and the practice of doing the gratitude, you start to get the neurons firing and you start to get some change happening. What happens is that people then start to feel a lot more altruistic and become interested in helping people. And then that flows on to those increased feelings of happiness, satisfaction, and reward. And that's when you get the neurotransmitters in the brain starting to do its fantastic work. Oxytocin's being released. You get the increased self-esteem, increased self-confidence. And then what actually happens in that feedback loop is you actually start to scan things that are positive in your life and that you're grateful for. So you've created this grateful loop, and it really does promote one's resilience, self-esteem, self-worth, and really helps out with the mental health. And for those around you, it's a really, really powerful tool. So even in the evening, just sitting around with your family and actually reflecting a little bit on what are you grateful for today? And it doesn't need to be big ticket items. It's actually just thinking about, well, what is it in my life that I'm actually grateful for? So an incredibly powerful technique that's really, really simple to use, and people can start using it by just getting a gratitude journal or a notebook, or even just mentally noting these things down. And as this slide shows, the benefits are significant. Fosters positivity, helps with your happiness, optimism, and overall motivation. But most importantly, it helps promote that resilience. And we talk a lot about resilience in helping us navigate those speed humps in life, similar to what we're experiencing at the moment with COVID. Yes, it's problematic. Yes, it's a difficult time. But if we are resilient, we can actually work through this particular time in our lives. And it helps deal with adversity wherever possible.
Yeah, they're two big things at the moment. You know, we all need to be resilient. And that with all sorts of things to keep getting by and that, but yeah, a lot have had to deal with, you know, the adverse side of that as well, which is either been losing their jobs or, you know, their businesses as well, their livelihoods.
Yeah, I mean, these things are incredibly challenging for people, incredibly challenging. And I mean, some of the research that has come out of gratitude is, for example, the work done with survivors of September 11 attacks in New York. It was that those people who were found to really bounce back from that were able to demonstrate some gratitude from that. So it's a really significant factor. The cause and effect is a little bit loose, but it's demonstrated that for those people who actually demonstrate gratitude on a daily basis, they do have some profoundly positive effects on their overall mental health and well-being.
So moving through, what have we got? Hang on a sec. Here we go.
So I guess, yeah, the key things that I would like or suggest that people do for homework, it's always really good to take some homework away from these sessions. Absolutely. And I think the key thing is, like I said, I've mentioned that 21 days, and that's really associated with the research that McCulloch and Emmons did, was that if you can consistently participate in a gratitude activity for 21 days straight, every day, just write down a couple of things that you're grateful for and continue to record that, continue to reflect on that for 21 days. And that's really, really simple. It's for your eyes only. You don't need to share it. It's really just for you to spend that 10 minutes a day just reflecting on what you're grateful for. The other thing to do is, if you haven't got the time for that 10 minutes a day, is just pick a couple of times during the week where you just might say, okay, what are 5 things that I'm really grateful for that's happened to me this week? It's really just about the exercise of stopping and reflecting on those things that you feel grateful for that have happened in your life or during the week, because it's very easy to sometimes start to be drawn to the negatives, to be drawn to what's going wrong, and to look at a broader picture of what's going on, instead of just focusing on the here and now and really thinking about, well, what are some things that I can be grateful for in this pretty challenging, or not pretty challenging, very, very challenging time that we have with COVID.
Absolutely. And I think that's the big end of not focusing on those negatives, because I know a lot of people do, and the negatives really take over those positives. So that can be switched to the other side. What, as we've always said, what you can't, change or fix, and that don't let it affect you, and keep moving on, and stay positive for what you do have, and the good things in your life that are going well.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic activity, Liam, to do with your family. If you've got children, and you're sitting around the dinner table in the evening, and just going around the table and saying, hey, what are you grateful for today? What happened today that you reflect on that you're really grateful for? And I think that's a fantastic activity to make a regular item around the dinner table.
Yeah, no, I agree. And plus it brings everyone closer together as well.
Yeah, creates those connections. And we've talked about, when I last spoke about those social connections, that's also vitally important in people who demonstrate resilience, have really good connectedness with people.
Yeah. And I guess it's one of those things, it's quite easily, you quite easily share it with a friend as well, and be like, I'm doing this, do this yourself, and that it's not hard. You can either, store it in your phone, or, store it somewhere which you're going to be able to, access as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you got any other points that you can share on being grateful?
I think the key things are that for a lot of people, it sounds, some of my clients, some of the people I work with say, it sounds a bit corny, Darrin. It sounds a bit simplistic. But the reality is, there's been numerous studies which have replicated the positive outcomes of appreciating and doing a gratitude exercise. I mean, in 2003, a study showed that 16% of people or participants showed fewer physical symptoms of pain. 90% of people spent more time exercising. 8% of people recorded better sleep. 25% felt that their sleep quality had overall improved. And there's been studies replicated over the years which really have shown it's helped with people who've experienced depression, and they've noticed a reduction in their depressive-related symptoms. So yes, like I said, it does sound simplistic, Liam. It does sound a bit corny, but the reality is it actually does work, and it works because it creates those neurons in the brain. They get firing up, they rewire, and we start to look much more for the positives, and we start to look much more for the positive emotions. And we get that oxytocin coming around, and everything comes together and we can really create a lasting and positive impact upon your well-being and your resilience. And as I said, this is a really important time to focus on ourselves at really trying times where people may, be out of work. They may have had a significant reduction in their work, or their partner might be out of work, children at home. And overall, the levels of anxiety in the community are heightened because of what's going on with COVID. And so I think this is a fantastic tool where it's really simple, it's really easy to do, that you can, it doesn't cost anything aside from a little bit of time, that people can engage in from today.
Yeah, no, it's some brilliant advice, Darrin, and thanks for joining us again on the show. It's truly wonderful to have the experience of guys like yourself to be able to share that with everyone here.
Thank you, Liam. It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Our next segment.
Okay.
Yes. So we're joined again by Darrin for your shout today. Remember to send through your questions if you have them to info@hospoforlife.com.au or send us a direct message via social media. So our first question comes today from a viewer in Victoria. Very straightforward question, this one. How can I get motivated to go back to work?
Thanks, Liam. I think this might be quite a common issue for a lot of people who have found themselves perhaps out of work or reduced hours. So it doesn't surprise me that some people may actually struggle with their motivation. So I think, first of all, we need to acknowledge that that's a pretty common reaction. But secondly, what I would suggest for this person is that the first thing they need to do is start to reflect a little bit about what do they actually want from their work? What is it they're actually trying to achieve out of their work? And I think also answering the question, what would concern me most if I didn't have a job? What would concern me most if I didn't be able to pay my rent or my mortgage, or for my family, or to be able to provide for myself? So reflecting a little bit about what would happen if they were out of work is probably a good place to start in terms of starting to drive some of that motivation. The other things that I would do is I would just start to work up some goals, and I would start to just make these really, really simple goals of, right, this week, this is what I'm going to achieve. And when I do go back to work, this is what I want to achieve. And they might be daily goals, or they might be weekly goals, but small, achievable, measurable goals, I think, is really, really important if someone's struggling with their motivation.
Yeah.
The third thing,
goals are one.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I would start doing right now, even before going back to work, is start to get back into some of those routines. What I've noticed with COVID-19 and working from home, it's very easy not to get out of bed at the same time. It's very easy to perhaps not dress like we would normally dress for work, and do those things that we would normally do for work. So I would suggest getting back into those normal routines. Simple things like getting out of bed at the same time you normally would every day, getting to bed at night time at an appropriate time, rather than sitting up and binging too much on Netflix or Stan or one of those things. Being mindful of, alcohol consumption, like normal things that you wouldn't normally engage in when you're actually at work. So getting back to those routines, getting your work gear ready, actually ironing your clothes, ironing your uniform, putting them aside, actually packing them up, getting things ready as if you were going to work. The more you can sort of start to normalize the routine again, the more it will start to feel like, okay, I'm getting myself back into that work routine. And that's what I would start doing right from now in terms of helping that motivation. Don't leave it until you know that, okay, I've got to start work tomorrow and I'm just completely unprepared.
Yeah, I think that'll happen to a lot of us. Preparation's key in our industry. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So we got another question here from a viewer up in Queensland. What services can RTS Group provide for my team when I reopen?
Yeah. Thanks for that question, Liam. I think it's a great question because the dynamics might have shifted a little bit. Things may have happened with people being away from work, and it will present some challenging times, no doubt. And we have a team of organisational psychologists who are devoted to actually working with organisations and teams to actually help get them back on track. And they undertake this work called a team alignment activity. And it's really sitting down with the team and rediscovering the why. What is our why? What are we actually trying to achieve here? And articulating some goals and some aspirations for what the team is wanting to do. And that would be the first place I would start, is actually working with the team to actually think is, what is our why? What do we actually want to achieve here? Secondly, I think what would make this transition back to work or back into the workplace as easy as possible? So considering some of the pitfalls or some of the challenges that may actually present themselves, and to trying to preempt some of those things, and working with one of our organisational psychologists to actually go, okay, well, if this were to happen, what could we do about it? That might include things like, how are we going to communicate? You know, how are we going to communicate over the course of the next few weeks or the next month? How are we going to look after one another? If someone is perhaps struggling and has found COVID particularly difficult and anxiety provoking, how are we going to support that person? And how do we resolve conflict amongst our team? So it's actually considering some of the challenges and actually working as a collective with a facilitation to actually help bring the group or the team together to have clear, agreed upon strategies for managing their way forward and navigating their way forward. I think a really good opportunity is, it would be a great opportunity for the team to develop a new charter perhaps and go, right, this is what we're about. This is what we want to do as a team. And that could then link into perhaps one of the People Sense and Altius Group organisational psychologists working with that team to do a bit of team coaching as they navigate their way through that particular process. But that's kind of the things that I would immediately start with when getting back together as a team and starting out post an absence from work.
Yeah, good one, Darrin. And if anybody would like to reach out and how we can support your business or support your staff, you can reach out to us at www.hospoforlife.com.au. Cheers for joining us today on the show, Darrin. It's been great.
Fantastic, man.
We look forward to seeing you next time.
Excellent. Take care of yourself and all the best.
You too. Thanks, mate.
Bye.
Up for last drinks today, we have chef and hospitality consultant from Tasmania, Paul Foreman. How are you, mate? Welcome.
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, great. So you guys were like the first ones to go into lockdown in Tasmania. What were you doing before these lockdowns happened? What projects did you have on the go? Because you're always busy.
Yeah, I like to keep busy. Yeah, look, basically I've been doing a lot of consultancy in probably the last 12 months. Yeah. Getting a little bit older and a bit longer in the tooth, I've got to start looking at different ways to keep my body together. So basically the Great Lake Hotel in the Central Highlands in Myena, which is pretty much dead centre of Tassie. I was doing the consultancy for them, and I still actually am at the moment. Another hotel on the Eastern Shore, which was actually where I live, in Howrah, was the Shoreline Hotel, so a couple of days a week with them. Launching a YouTube cooking show, which is called Of Course TV. So we spent... Sorry?
I'm always seeing you on Facebook in a video or something.
Yeah, look, it's... I believe I'm a bit of a stop and go person. Do you know what I mean? If I'm not doing anything, I tend to, the motivation can tend to sort of wane off a little bit. So I like to keep busy as much as I possibly can. But yeah, and it excites me. That's the one thing I like about this industry is that it's so diverse and there's so many things we can do. But it's a matter of you doing it. It's not going to be handed to you. You got to go out and look for it.
Yeah, exactly right. That's probably one of the biggest things I think is, if it's something that you love, you just got to go and grab it. And
yeah,
you're wasting your own time.
Absolutely.
After it. Yeah. So obviously life's changed quite dramatically for us all. How's the hospitality industry coped with that down in Tassie? Because I know we've done things up here on the Eastern Seaboard and that, but what have you done down in Tassie? How's life changed?
Well, firstly, everyone's now a takeaway. So the takeaway scene has incredibly improved. So pretty much every place is looking into the takeaway. It's a matter of thinking outside the square. So they responded pretty quickly down here. You know, some have taken it up, some haven't. Some have actually closed because they just wanted to sit back and see how things happen. But generally, I'd say 80% of businesses have gone into the takeaway home delivery market, which has been really, really good. So yeah, look, Tassie's really taken the bit between the teeth and actually gone with it. No whinging, no griping. We just get on with it, you know, because at the end of the day, it is what it is, and we've got to do the best we can with it.
Yeah, that's right. And everyone's got a lot of employees as well. Everyone has lives and families.
Yeah.
So we've got to keep
it ticking. Keep it ticking.
Yeah. How have you? Tell us how you've coped with your mental health during these times, because I know a lot of us have all suffered with that, like regardless in one way or another. Yeah, we've all. I think we've all found it difficult at some point.
Yeah, look, mental health. It's always a tricky one. I sort of put it down to you know, life's a bit of a roller coaster. You know, we have our good days and we have our bad days, and I think the biggest, most important thing is to accept that we're going to have bad days. You know, it's not feeling guilty about feeling bad or whatever comes out of it. It's just a matter of accepting it and working towards getting yourself out of it, because every day is a new day. So I suppose what I've been doing is trying to keep busy. Exercise, definitely exercise is important, and I'm still thinking about it. Not quite there yet. It's funny, I went to go to Rebel Sports, which is a local sort of a sporting equipment place here in Hobart. And me being a little bit ignorant, went a couple of weeks ago, very in and out, quick in and out the door, and thought, oh yeah, I'll just go and grab some weights so I can start getting into that again. Was I ridiculous or what? Seriously, there's nothing anywhere. So gym equipment in the whole of Hobart is like hen's teeth.
Yeah, same here.
So yeah, keeping a bit of exercise is good. Keeping busy, and giving yourself projects. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Giving yourself some goals, some projects. My wife has definitely got me in the garden. Great. So I'm starting to learn new techniques on how to do fences and building retaining walls and all sorts of bits and pieces. So I suppose at the end of the day, it's just keeping busy, and also maintaining some sort of normality or the new norm. Do you know what I mean? The Monday to Friday, or in hospitality, obviously we have different days that we work. But, you know, 9 o'clock, you know, have your shower, do your standard things like you normally would do, and try and not turn the TV on until maybe 6 o'clock at night, all those sorts of things. So maintaining some normality is really important. That sort of helped me. Don't worry, I still have my Netflix binges, you know. I hit the weekend and obviously there's a TV series or two on there that you'll crack into. Yeah, so a bit of that, a bit of normality, and, you know, a bit of home cooking, you know. Everybody's doing sourdoughs at the moment, so I'm trying to think of something different to a sourdough, just to, you know, break the monotony. But yeah.
Post the old bolognese, considering mince and sauce just got absolutely wiped out in pasta. No one's posted anything.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, look, it's just keeping busy. You know, not focusing on things too much. You know, I don't know of anybody else out there, but you know, you get that 2 o'clock in the morning and you tick open and you're awake, and then all of a sudden your brain's going for it, and then it always seems a little bit worse at 2 in the morning for some weird reason. Just flow with it. Just ignore that sort of stuff, because it will be better. We are going to get out of this, and it's just a matter of working together to make it happen. And we are. I think definitely down in Tassie, it's been an interesting process, and it's looking at also the simple things. Do you know what I mean? Like smelling the roses. For God's sake, go outside, take a moment, have a deep breath, stop running around like a blue-ass fly, and actually enjoy the simple quietness of life.
Enjoy the rest.
You know?
No, I totally agree with you. So tell us some positive, I think you've just given us a heap there, but some positive actions which, like us as hospitality workers in the industry can take away and perhaps maybe like look forward to for the future and that moving.
Well, I think that's really the important thing too, is to think about the future. It is what it is now, and we maintain ourselves, and we're obviously still figuring out where we are day to day, week to week, and with regard to lockdown and when we're relaxing those lockdown rules and all the rest of it. But planning for the future, this is the great thing about now, and this is the positive side of it, is that we have time to sit back and think about it. Think about what our future will be, what our goals are, and it is really important to have your goals. As I talk about day to day, if you're just looking at day to day all the time, it feels like it's a long time. But have that, Christmas period, what's going to happen at Christmas, all those sorts of things, and start planning things.
Yeah, and there's plenty of time to plan now. And
absolutely,
things which you've always wanted to do, you can get done now.
Yeah, no excuses.
Physically, but you can still plan for that and get ready for it. And what we've done well, I think, as a community is, we've got lots of training platforms which have just opened up for people to use as well, and that will skill themselves before everything goes back to business again, which I think is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's the other thing too is to maybe look at something that you're not used to doing. Doesn't sound very exciting, but I know a lot of us in the industry, we're all very much based on, I know when I got into cooking when I was 13 and a half, many years ago, it's all about creativity and it's all about passion. That's why we get into hospitality. But then we have to think about the business side too. A lot of us don't really think about it. Yeah. So this is a good opportunity to start costing your menus properly and all that sort of thing. Get some really good recipe costing cards and systems in place. So when you start up again, you're making your money, So there's so many things we can do in the background before we reopen. So no excuses.
Well, that's awesome. It's been great catching up with you on the show today, and thanks so much for joining us. And
you're welcome.
I totally wish you the best of luck in the coming months, and that, like everybody, all of us out there.
Yeah, you too, Liam, and well done to you, young man, because I know it's a lot of work to be doing what you're doing, and applaud you. Well done.
Do it effortlessly, and that's
cheers, mate.
Give it back. Yeah. All right, Paul. Cheers. Thanks very much.
Thanks, buddy.
Mate. Well, that's all we have time for on today's show. You can catch us back here on Friday at 5 p.m. We will be discussing how alcohol and drugs can impact your mental health. And for last drinks, we'll be chatting with executive chef of Sylvester's Restaurant at the Marriott Hotel, Raphael Zurek. Big thanks to our partners, Warner's Gin and Altius Group, for supporting the show. Stay strong and stay united in spirit to create a positive change for a healthier industry. I'm Chef Liam Crawley. Take care, everyone.